Hello everybody, welcome to another painting time-lapse. So this one was a fun one. You'll see about halfway through it where I'm painting on it and I'm trying to get it right and it's just not working out right. And I guess it's kind of a lesson on just going with the flow, you know? The final result is something I'm happy with, even though it's not exactly what I was going for. You'll see that it's not anywhere close to where it is right now, but you know that happens sometimes. I painted a painting last week that was the same pose and that came out great, but for whatever reason my mind just wasn't with this one and it came out differently, so I just had to roll with it, and so that's what I did. Pretty soon I'm going to switch to glazing as usual. It's pretty typical of my process. This stage is really just notes for myself, essentially. It's just showing me where all the measurements, where all the parts are that I need to remember for later. So, and then I go over it with a base color. I toned it down a little bit. This is a ultramarine blue mixed with a little burnt umber to try and kind of make it a little more neutral and a little less saturated. And then I go back over top of it with that color shaper just to add texture. So here I'm laying in the values on her face, and this is the part where I'm really struggling. Like I don't know, even watching it now I'm not sure where it went astray, but it's not a great representation of the drawing that I put down. And it's frustrating me, so I'm working it, and then you'll see eventually I just kind of give up and go a different direction with it. So here I'm adding another glaze layer. This is where it really goes off the rails. I like to do this to add depth. I work in layers. I feel like it adds more depth to the color. I'm just adding texture here. And then when I go in and restate, there's parts underneath it that are showing through, and then parts on top that are new, and it kind of jumps out at you if you do it right. Unfortunately, with this one, it didn't really work out that way. So I'm just adding some color notes here, and then I'm going to go on top of it, and you'll see it just goes completely haywire. It's not looking good. So you can see the measurements are way off. Like her nose is too short, her chin is too round. It's just not working, and I tried to cover it and readjust the features, but I'm not happy with it, so I go back over it again and just go a totally different direction with it. And then I paint back over it again. But the interesting thing is there, after I cover it up the second time, it gives me an idea of where to go. I saw in the color variation there those teeth that I end up painting, and that's what gives me the idea to go in that direction. Happy accidents is what they call that. Something unplanned, but it ends up being what the final piece is, so not all is lost. So I'm just working the values here, trying to make sure the focal point is the part with the most details. Here it's finally starting to take some kind of shape. that I like, the faces anyway. The hands are still kind of wonky. Again, the measurements are messed up. They're not in the same place as the drawing was. They kind of got lost in all the layers in the painting, but I'm liking where the face is going, so I'm starting to add a little bit of detail here, a little bit of like accoutrement for the monster face, little wrinkles and blemishes and whatnot. Added some highlights and working the values still back and forth. Eventually you'll see that I just paint over the hand. I think it's in the way, it's not looking good, I didn't do enough gesture work to make it interesting, so I just kind of move it out of the way. Working on it, and I'm trying to get it right, and it's just not working, so I change it subtly so it's out of the way, and then I de-emphasize it with just some random abstract strokes on top of it, and that's intentional. Like, I could spend more time trying to paint the hand accurately, but it's not the focal point, it's not where I want the focus to go, so I just kind of indicate it, and then I splash over it with some marks. I'm working on the face a little bit more because that's really the focus. I want the creature, the monster's face to be the area with the most detail in it. So here I started adding to the background. I like to cover up parts of those colors. I don't want the whole thing to just be a big blue block. I want the neutral gray values to kind of cover up some of that, but still have a little bit of it show through. And by putting the neutral values on top of that really saturated color, it kind of offsets it, and it makes it just be an accent rather than the focus of the piece. When there's such a huge portion of that saturated color, it kind of steals focus. That's not what I want, so I de-emphasize it and just kind of leave small pockets of those colors and textures to kind of bleed through where I've covered it up with the abstract marks. And by that point, I really like where her face is heading. It's much better than whatever was happening before. I don't know how to explain that. Lapse in judgment, I guess. But it's starting to look cool now. It's kind of got like a Exorcist vibe going on. At this point, I've decided that she's kind of a witch. It's probably something I should have decided beforehand, but sometimes you just go with it, you know? So from this point on, it's really just adding details, adjusting the values back and forth, adding some abstract marks here and there, and just kind of bringing it to what I would consider a finished piece. Alright, so that's about it. I'm just going to let it play out from here. Don't forget to hit all the requisite buttons, the likes, the follows, the notifications if you want to see more of my work. I appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Take care.